And welcome to Techopia Live. Thank you for everybody that's joining us yet again here on this beautiful Monday in the capital city of Canada. If you don't know this by now, just yet, Techopia Live is dedicated to showcasing more about tech within our industry right here in this city and showcasing to you what is happening both locally, but how what's locally happening is affecting everything on a global basis. So here today, I'm very excited because, and you know this, if you're watching this, I pretty much start every time with, I'm very excited, because I sincerely am excited about all the exciting things that we speak about. But here today I have the Director General of the Canada Science and Technology Museum. I think I said that right. I got thumbs up, which is good. Christina Tessier, thank you so much for taking the time for joining us today. Today is a wonderful occasion to talk a little bit about what has happened within the Canada Science and Technology Museum's kind of journey over the last 3 years. Now, you joined the museum 3 years ago when the doors closed, which is a rare occasion because why? Rarely you join a company when they close their doors, in this case. But it kind of was the perfect timing for you because that was right in the midst of a big evolution for the museum itself. So maybe you can kind of walk us a little bit through that. Now, it's going to be difficult to encapsulate 3 years in literally maybe 1 minute, but maybe you can give us a little overview of what's happened over the last 3 years and maybe how things have changed for the museum before the doors closed and kind of what's your mandate looking into the future now.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, it's been almost 3 years. We have 45 days until we reopen the museum. We're incredibly excited like you are. And when we shut down the museum itself had some issues with the building, and there was supposed to be kind of a smaller retrofit that was going to be happening and get the doors reopened as quickly as possible. We were fortunate enough to receive funding that allowed us to remake the entire museum. We've built basically from the ground up. We've kept the foundation there and a little bit of the structure. But we're also rebuilding 80,000 square feet of new exhibitions. We're layering in programming spaces like a makerspace, an auditorium, a new demo stage right at the heart of the new museum. And through all of this, we've been taking a real look at who we are. It's our 50th birthday in a few months. And so, you know, it's that midlife crisis period where you kind of look back on where you were and where you're headed. And it was an opportunity to rethink about who we are. We're based on some real fundamentals around interactive museum culture. We've always been that. The Crazy Kitchen has been at the crux of our kind of experiences that we create. But it allows us to broaden that out. And we've taken a number of other pillars that we're situating in the new museum as part of the new vision. So some examples of that is moving from STEM to STEAM and recognizing the importance of the arts. Recognizing the importance of diverse points of view. So in the museum setting, we often see old tech and science as the old white man and holding him up. There's so many other voices that we have in Canada's stories. And so we've taken those out and brought those forward in the new museum as well. Getting the science right out there in the forefront. Having research happening in the museum itself, extending the number of artifacts on the floor. There's so many extra stories that we've been able to layer into this new museum, all while keeping it in a national and a global context, because not everybody gets a chance to come here to Ottawa and visit our amazing national museums, and we want to ensure that there's all kinds of access through mobile apps and traveling exhibitions and just straight outreach that Canadians can enjoy.
Wonderful. That's great. So it shows you would always think that the museum has always been very accessible, but it seems like more than ever now you really want to take that accessibility to the next level, and as you see, more provide an opportunity for people to look at these options not just locally but on a national perspective or as a global perspective as well, and provide that content that can cater to a much larger audience. Now maybe you can speak to a little bit, I know during this kind of evolution, you wanted to kind of change also how people see the museum. It's not so much a museum just anymore. As you just mentioned, there's so many facets now. It really is like a business, and you really want to run it like a business, and you really want to engage with the business community more so than ever. How's that changed a little bit for you?
I think it's a really important change. Another one of the pillars we talked about is the idea of partners and collaboration. And we try not to do anything in isolation anymore as everybody is moving in that direction. And for us, it's looking and innovation ecosystem and understanding the role the museum can play in there. And so while, yes, we can tell those stories through exhibitions, as we've traditionally done, more importantly, we can invest in applied research. We can bring those companies onto our demonstration stage to talk about the important work they're doing and uncover it for Canadians and be that window on those communities. We really want to embrace and be a part of that community rather than just presenting stories about it. And so we've been enjoying rebuilding a number of relationships locally, nationally, internationally. There's lots of work left to do there. And so that's part of, we keep telling people November 17th is just one step on the journey. And all of these pieces and the mandate that we've created for ourselves continues after our opening, the new museum. But we've already got some great steps in place. Local company SimWave, and we've been working at building a virtual reality experience with them that'll launch in the new museum, all the way to the other end of the spectrum, working with a company like Lembach, who's built a tiny house that's going into the new museum, where we look at our consumer culture. And so we've been working with Ottawa's local community as well already.
I love that. I love the fact that you're just really engaging. You really are trying to make it an interactive experience. Now, you mentioned November 13th very briefly, but it is a big, big day because it is the big opening. And once again, there's so much work that's gone into it. I know there's been a lot of just changes that's taken place. I know there's still 45 days left, so there's a lot that needs to happen, but maybe you can give us a little idea of kind of what to look forward to when those doors open up.
Sure, and it's November 17th. I need those 4 days. I need those 4 days.
17, 17, 7. Okay, here you go, 45.
One of the interesting pieces for us, we've been experimenting with tech, so virtual reality, augmented reality, projection, LED. So when you visit the new museum, before you even enter our doors, you will see the first show. So our facade has a massive LED canopy that completely wraps our entryway, and about 250 feet of projectable space along the front of the museum building. So we've been working with the National Film Board to build our first show for this space. And so you will literally be immersed in that technology and what it's able to do for a museum visitor before you even come through our doors. So we're thrilled to be able to share that kind of experimentation, that work with partners, with everybody. And in terms of the exhibitions, there's 11 new exhibitions. Everything from our old locomotives are still there for people who really want to see them. They're interpreted in new ways. An exhibition on sound, an exhibition that looks at natural resources and mining. We have telescopes and microscopes and deep sea, medical sensations, crazy kitchen. For the first time, a gallery just dedicated to children under ages 8 and under, as well as exhibitions on wearable tech and how technology impacts our daily lives.
Beautiful. Wow. So I'm glad you bring up the little ones as well, because when you say all this stuff, you're like, whoa, this has now changed into like literally just an adult museum where you can go and it seems like the place where businesses and adults that haven't really ever considered going to the Canada Science and Technology Museum now would more than, well, maybe I should stop by there, get some ideas, create some collaborations, create some partnerships. So I'm sure that's been a part of the evolution, but it's wonderful. What do you think, you mentioned it earlier, kind of changed from a STEM approach to a STEAM approach as well. How important has this become for all the 3 Canada museums to incorporate that in how you approach the public, how you approach families, how you approach kids, as this is all part of the future and kind of setting those individuals up?
Yeah, there's no doubt that creativity is at the core of all of our tech and innovation industry. As you were mentioning, the Canada Aviation and Space Museum and the Canada Agriculture and Food Museum are a part of our Ingenium Corporation, Museums of Science and Innovation. All 3 of the museums really embrace that. I have taken it to heart that STEM to STEAM movement. We've had an opportunity to do a lot of work in the Canada Science and Technology Museum, but we saw a steampunk gala that happened last year at Aviation and Space, and some great work that's happening with artworks around at the Agriculture and Food Museum. All 3 museums really cater to multi-generational audiences. And so when we say that, the idea is from 2 to 92. There are experiences for you in the museum, all within the same areas. And so that your entire family should feel welcomed, should feel challenged, should feel excited and curious about what they're finding out at our sites.
Wonderful. So if you're out there and you're watching this now, we're talking about the grand opening of the new Canada Science and Technology Museum on November 17th. 1-7, remember that. It's going to be spectacular. And I'm here with the Director General, Christina Tessier. Christina, maybe just one more thing. Let's talk a little bit about, as you say, creating that business relationship with more companies. What would you like to see? What would you like to encourage or kind of just put the message out there to businesses out there? How can they engage with the Canada Science and Technology Museum? How can they get more involved?
Well, they can absolutely reach out to me. And we had a Tech Tuesday talk a few months back, and we've been out talking to the community. And I think there's a number of levels of engagement. At a very basic level, we want those businesses to be coming in and using the museum as a potential platform for them. So whether that is demoing a new product or reaching out to an audience, we have a built-in audience at the new museum. We have a demonstration stage where we want to bring scientists and makers and engineers and explorers into the museum to tell us their stories about what they're working on. There is so much research happening in Canada that the public never hears about. We have the opportunity to create that engagement at a very inclusive level with a type of language that the average person is going to be able to understand in the new museum, and we're looking forward to welcoming companies in to talk about that. And on the best opportunities, we're going to be able to find some true partnerships where we bring in industry and academia and the museum together to work on some amazing products.
Now, you are such a vibrant. This is such a vibrant conversation. I wish you could experience it when you're sitting in it. I know you're somewhere out there in the digital world. You might not be able to experience it, but there's this energy that comes from you, Christina, and it seems like you've had no issues over the last 3 years, and it's just been moonshine, not moonshine, maybe a little bit of moonshine. But what has maybe been a key challenge maybe that you've had over the last 3 years, and maybe how have you overcome that, or maybe working towards kind of overcoming that?
I think what I would say is there hasn't been that game-stopping major crisis, knock on wood, and hopefully there won't be in the next 45 days, but there are many crises on a daily basis that we encounter, and I think the way we've been able to work through that is the right people with the right attitude at the right time coming in. And so our senior management and our entire team are willing to have those difficult conversations, solve the problem, move on. I think that's been critical, as well as ensuring that we've collected the best information we can at the time that we're at, make a decision and carry forward. A 3-year timeline for a project of this scope and scale is challenging, there is no doubt, and that's how we've been able to meet it. We've been able to keep the project on time and on budget from day one, and I think it's just down to having a fabulous team and probably a little bit of luck on our side.
I like that. Now, all I can say is, I mean, it's coming up. It's November 17th. I'll say that again, just in case. We're all looking forward to it. We have driven by it many times. We have heard a lot about what's happening, and we've kind of heard some whispers of what could be happening. So I'm sure everybody's very excited. But it's so wonderful to have someone like yourself and your team and everybody so dedicated to growing what's happening within Ottawa, showcasing the amazing people that put this all together. Because I feel, once again, what you're doing at the Canada Science and Technology Museum is showcasing what Canada has to offer, what Ottawa has to offer, and showcasing that to the world on another level. So thank you for all of that. Congratulations. It's a big budget. You managed to spend most of it to keep it on track, which is amazing. But we're all looking forward to it. So for those of you that haven't done so already, make sure, where can they go, what website can they go to find out more information of the evolution as things go forward?
Sure, you can check us out on ingeniumcanada.org, our new website for all the 3 museums in our corporation. And certainly on social media, you will find so much content. We've been sharing this behind-the-scenes stories all along this process. We haven't been trying to keep things under wraps until we reopen in November because there's so much to share. So there's some great videos and some great posts out there. And I will say, for anyone who comes and says, there's no way you guys are opening in 45 days, those 3 cranes out front of our site are working on a new building, our collection and conservation building, which is going up at the same time. So there's no slowing down after we reopen on November 17th.
That's exciting. Thank you. So there we go. Thank you very much for joining us today. Make sure that you stay tuned here on Techopia Live for all the upcoming and exciting news that's happening within the tech industry. You can join us here on Monday at 12:15, or you can join us on Wednesdays at 12:15. Thank you so much for joining us today, Christina. Appreciate it.